edible perennials in your garden, Holly. We've talked about this on the program several times over the many years, and it's something that needs to be, at the end of the season, things have done good, things haven't done good. What can we add to our garden that will produce more with less work? And there's several different items here, plants that you may want to consider for your garden addition next year.
So the first one is rhubarb. I don't really like rhubarb, but we should talk about it because it is a perennial and it lasts for I think 25 some years. 15
plus years, and you can divide it or leave it as is. And it's a plant that the leaves are not edible on it. However, the stems are.
Yeah, they you don't eat the leaves, you eat the stems, and it's I think it's like sour or tangy or something, and then so people mix it with something sweet, strawberries to make it.
I'm sure somebody eats the stems and likes that bitterness, sour taste.
Well, I've heard of people dipping it in sugar and then eating it, like a celery stalk kind of.
Okay.
And and it lasts a long time.
You're going to need an area. You're going to need something about 6 foot in diameter. Now we grow on a small variety, on a small scale, I should say, and we grow it in containers, which can be done. It can be done. It doesn't get to the magnitude of in the ground, and in the container, you're going to have to continue to feed it, water it, and divide it because of the limitations that container holds for you, that plant.
So some people do feel that rhubarb is aggressive and what's the other word I'm looking for? Invasive in a way. So just beware that it can grow and divide itself, or whatever you want to call it, where it does kind of take over a little bit. So if you do grow it, make sure you put it in an area that you're not trying to grow other things because it might...
Or you need something to take up some space.
Yeah.
Like in a back corner that does get adequate amount of sun, but you're not back there all the time. You don't want to, you don't want to mow the grass back there. You can put some rhubarb back there, type of landscaping, edible landscaping, so to speak.
Right. So yeah, that's rhubarb. So raspberries or blackberries, we have golden
raspberries.
Golden raspberries, we've got what, 3? No.
Well, we started with 1, and the next year we bought 4, and 2, and one of those died. And now, because of how they spread with runners, we've probably got 25 to 40 different plants that are coming up in that place. And next year it'll probably be 25% more in that area, because they continue to multiply by shooting runners underneath. And we've actually physically removed one of the raised beds that we had nearby, because that raised bed is basically has become a raspberry bed, and it's overtaking the area, which is a good problem to have. Now, typically you would want to have space between each plant in order for you to get the harvest that you need, so you're not, stomping on plants and everything. But this is just how nature is in the wild, and we are working our way through and harvesting as need be. So probably in another 2 years, we'll have enough during one harvest to have a pie of golden raspberries. You can dig these up and transplant them, yes. We just let them go naturally and let them kind of take over as need be. And you can get thornless blackberries as well.
Yeah.
This is in, it gets morning sun, and then the shed blocks a lot of the afternoon sun. So they're not as large as raspberries or blackberry plants that I have seen. I've seen some of them that are 5 or 6 foot tall and 3 foot across. These have no physical structure that they're growing up on. And we don't prune them back like some people say you're supposed to prune them. We've never pruned them back. We just let them go, and they do their thing.
With that being said, we are the gardeners who don't always prune a ton of stuff.
What's pruning?
Yeah, pruning just means like you're.
It's a control.
It's a control. It's kind of like when people shape bushes and hedges and things like that, but it's more to control the plant essentially. And it's not that we don't care. It's just that we let things kind of do their own natural growth thing. And same thing with tomatoes and
the suckers.
That's a whole other topic. But yeah, so raspberries, blackberries. Now you can grow blueberries, but you do need very acidic soil, and not just like dump a cup of coffee in your soil type of thing. You do need to add
Acidic soil. They have compost
yeah.
to that, or they have potting mixes that are
Yeah.
adapted to that particular pH level. But if you're going to have to bring in material in order to grow a specific plant, such as blueberries, you may want to exercise the energy and the finances in order to grow something that you don't have to improve or change a total molecular level of soil pH in order to get that particular plant to grow. Work on blackberries or raspberries instead of trying to change a certain bed so you can grow blueberries. That's, take advantage of what you can grow instead of trying to change your environment to grow something that is not applicable to grow.
Yeah, definitely. You want to keep these things in mind. Just like in northern climates, you're not trying to grow bananas, as opposed to in southern climates, maybe you're not trying to grow I don't know.
Garlic is is more of a difficult thing to grow down south.
Yeah,
it can be done, but it's more of a challenge. Sunchokes, or AKA Jerusalem artichokes, we have good years and we have bad years. We're currently on a bad year, meaning that on a good year they'll get 12 to 18 foot tall. They're related to the sunflower, and they'll have 5 to 8 pounds of tubers per plant. On a bad year, they're about 3, maybe 4 foot tall, and maybe 1/4 pound per plant. So we basically will harvest very minimal ones this year, and then let the tubers redevelop themselves and to grow more. And people say that they are very aggressive in some environments. We have not found that to be the case. We have them in a 15 by 15 foot square, native soil, no barrier around it. They intrude here and there, and we just dig them up. But it's not like they're not like creeping Charlie or mint, where you turn around and they've moved 3 foot in the time you've in 15 minutes type of thing. You can grow Jerusalem artichokes in a container. We have done that and buried the container at ground level in the garden, so it was kind of fit in just to do it, and it worked well. So you want to voice your, we're not doctors and we don't pretend to play any, but there is some things you need to know about sunchokes before you start consuming large quantities of them.
Yeah, so sunchokes, aka Jerusalem artichokes, have this high amount of enzyme in them called inulin, not insulin, inulin, and it's good for you, but it does give many people GI, gastrointestinal issues such as passing gas aggressively. And so I know for me, because I have something called IBS, I do have a little bit more of a sensitive digestive system, so it does make me more gassy as opposed to maybe some other people. But you can build up a tolerance for it, is what I understand. Otherwise, if you do something where you put it in a soup or like a stew, or you just have a little bit at a time, you're okay. It's just like, you're like, oh, this is delicious, these are really good. And then you eat, a bunch of sunchokes, and then you're having regrets later.
Some, not all.
Not all.
Yeah.
And then,
some people don't have that, like you talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just good to know how it could affect you. Now, sunchokes are delicious, and they are kind of like a survival vegetable because of how they do come back, and they do grow very, very well. And
unless you knew what you're looking at, you wouldn't know what they were.
And they kind of grow in like garbage soil. So there's that too. Like, they don't really care. They're like, hey, this is okay. Like,
right, you got to put the water to it, which we don't have. We've never put water to ours, which has the limitations of why some years are really good and other years aren't good for us. We have the white variety. There is a burgundy variety that's, I believe, is a little more rare to grow, and these tubers can be marble size up to essentially the size of a tennis ball, very gnarly looking. And however you cook these or consume them, do your best to peel them. That will get most a good percentage of the earthiness off of them, because if you try to eat them with the just clean skin, it's very, very unpleasant, at least for our taste buds. You want to try to peel them as much as possible to get that off. Asparagus is another plant that takes will last 20 to 30 to 50 years, so it may outlive you in your garden, but to get it established, it takes about a good 4 years to really get things going. And if you have the space, there are charts to know how much you should grow for X amount of size family, but put more in than you think you need. We should have doubled what we planted 4 years ago because we're not getting the quantity that we would like. But asparagus. There is a purple variety. There is a green variety. The white variety that you see in the store or you see online, what is occurring there is it's growing, but as it grows, they mound the soil over and prevent the sun from getting it, and they're actually bleaching it, not like in a chemical sense, but in a agricultural sense of removing or preventing light from getting to it in order to do the photosynthesis that it needs to do. I don't know what the advantage of that is. I'm sure there's some
I think
health.
it just looks cool, maybe. I don't know.
Well, looks cool and has a nice price tag, I assume, if something look cool.
Right, but the more, like, the greener vegetables are, the darker anything is.
Each your vegetables a color.
Yeah. The more nutrient dense they typically are. Like if you look at something like a dark green kale versus an iceberg lettuce, and you see that, you know, that contrast, that kale is naturally more nutrient dense because of how, just how it is, and then iceberg is not.
Iceberg has basically 0% value.
It gives you fiber.
I mean, the nutrient value is like 0.19%. It's a terrible low number.
Right. So just keep these things in mind that, I guess I could look up to see if white asparagus has any nutrient difference than regular asparagus, but sometimes things are a gimmick. Like, I was at the store the other day and they were selling greenish pumpkins and calling them fairy tale pumpkins.
I don't think that's true.
I was like, what? They were just green pumpkins, but whatever. I don't know. So I didn't look at the price tag. I just kind of shook my head and kept going. So yeah, asparagus is something that you should grow. For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.